It's the afternoon of December 13th, 1951. Actress Joan Bennett and her agent Jennings Lang meet at the offices of the Universal City Studios to discuss her involvement in an upcoming TV project. After discussions conclude, Lang accompanies Bennett to the parking lot to see her off. Without warning, a man comes up from behind the pair and fires off 2 shots at Lang. Lang is wounded, but he will go on to survive the encounter. The shooter is none other than Walter Wanger, a veteran film producer and also Bennett's husband, who tosses the gun into his wife's car and awaits the police. He had learned through a private detective that his wife may have been having an affair with Lang, so when the opportunity presented itself, Wanger took the matter into his own insane little hands. As a result of the scandal, Bennett would be blackballed from the industry and would only work sporadically for the rest of her career. As for Wanger, his reputation as a film producer would forever be tarnished. Oh, wait, it wasn't? Hello and welcome to The Good Old Days. Today we'll be talking about 1963's Cleopatra and the production from hell that changed Hollywood forever. After his arrest, Wanger pled guilty by reason of temporary insanity to the shooting of Jennings Lang and was subsequently sentenced to just 4 months in prison. It pays to have good lawyers, kids. After his release, Wanger was back out on the streets with a renewed vigor and probably a few new sick prison tats. He would go on to produce several classic films of the 1950s, from Invasion of the Body Snatchers to Riot in Cell Block 11. This post-incarceration run of success provided Wanger with enough runway with 20th Century Fox to launch the project that would forever etch his name into the annals of film lore.
Cleopatra, Siren of the Nile.
Cleopatra not only changed the film industry forever, but if its producer is any indication, it reflected the worst excesses of vanity and hubris that Hollywood had to offer. The studio figured they could make the movie for around $2 million, a pretty generous offer when you consider that the budget for Wanger's previous 9 films totaled maybe around $3.5 million. But Wanger had visions of ancient Egypt in his eyes, and he was not going to let petty things like budget stand in the way of him seeing his vision brought to life. For the director of this movie, they decided on Rouben Mamoulian, director of the original production of Oklahoma. And hey, look, they even got Elizabeth Taylor to play the lead. This movie was already shaping up to be a smash hit. And it would all be downhill from there. Amid concerns that the muggy weather might exacerbate health problems on set, principal photography for the film began in September of 1960 at the Pinewood Studios in England. And what do you know? Elizabeth Taylor came down with full-blown meningitis within the first few weeks of filming, forcing the production to stall for several weeks while she recovered. So in an attempt to get the ball rolling on production again, the studio decided to rewrite the script for the film. But Mamoulian and Taylor both hated the rewrites, so the studio demanded more rewrites. Before anyone knew it, 16 weeks had passed, and the production had produced just 10 minutes of usable footage. How much was all this costing them anyway? Yikes. Yeah, so Mamoulian was out as director. 9 months of work, 10 minutes of footage. He would never work in Hollywood again. In his place, the studio would go with All About Eve director Joseph L. Mankiewicz and gave him 2 months to create a whole new shooting script for the film. His version of the film would have a new look and a gritty attitude, with the inner struggle of Mark Antony taking center stage as he... Never mind, Elizabeth Taylor has pneumonia. With all the illnesses and the layoffs, you'd forgive the studio for just cutting their losses and giving up, but no, sunken cost fallacy be damned. They dismantled the set in the Pinewood studio and recast most of the main actors. After a few months, Taylor's illness finally subsided, and with most of the new script completed, filming resumed in September of 1961 in Italy. And guess what? It was absolute chaos. Mankiewicz had to take speed to keep up with the demanding shooting schedule. The cinematographer collapsed on set from exhaustion. Another person was hospitalized for an undisclosed illness and eventually died a year later. And worse yet, the press endlessly hounded the production due to the delays, as well as a highly publicized love affair between Taylor and the new lead Richard Burton. The production would limp on for the next 2 years, and costs would continue to rise until principal photography finally ceased in March of 1963. 120 miles of footage and 1 torrid post-production later, and with a budget now exceeding $35 million, the final version of the film was finally completed. And what would be the fruit of all this labor? Well, a lukewarm critical reception followed by an anemic showing come awards season made everyone's feelings pretty clear. It was pretty good, but holy shit, they paid how much to make that? Nevertheless, it would become the highest-grossing film of 1963. But even a worldwide release and a subsequent TV deal could not make the film a success. It's pretty clear when watching the movie that the humane, character-driven elements Mankiewicz envisioned for the film were removed from the forefront in favor of these vast, extravagant set pieces. And while the performances are really good, its plot is overstuffed, and it really more resembles a Wikipedia deep dive than a cohesive narrative. The impact of the film's tumultuous production and the subsequent failure to recoup its losses can be felt in Hollywood to this day. It basically spelled the end of the epic historical fiction vanity projects of the 1950s, and with television becoming more and more of a fixture of American life, studios could no longer justify the big budgets and huge set pieces. 20th Century Fox would fire the executives responsible for the fiasco, and as for Wanger, it'd be the last film he would ever produce. In the end, he did succeed in going down in film history, though not in the way he might have intended. Either way, his story and the story of 1963's Cleopatra stands as a cautionary tale to never worry too much about the outcomes in life. Otherwise, you might waste $35 million and attempt to murder somebody. Good night. Want more history content like this? Follow The Good Old Days on all social medias, share the video, and tag a friend who loves history. We'll see you in the next one. Brought to you by ScripTalk, talking prescription labels for the visually impaired.